What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video on the channel. Today, I want to review some downside setups that I am definitely watching into next week. Last Friday, we saw that downside after some of the comments and some of the aggressive tone that we heard from Jerome Powell saying that there will be pain ahead for the consumer. After seeing this, after hearing this, the market definitely reacted on Friday, and we saw that very aggressive downside. A lot of setups were formed on Friday for continuation, and I want to go ahead and go over some of them in today's video. Friday was a fantastic example of why technical analysis has to be taken with a grain of salt around macroeconomic events. You saw that downside come in, no technical levels really held up. This was a macroeconomic, a knee-jerk reaction type move, and you have to make sure to protect yourself before. When you come into a meeting like we did on Friday, we have to make sure we're aware of it, prepare our portfolios, and make sure to protect ourselves. You saw technicals not hold up, and this was something that I talked about in my Thursday video. So let's go ahead and look for some downside plays. I want to make sure to prepare for that. If we get some more downside continuation, press that like button, subscribe to the channel, and of course, make sure to tune in to the pre-market live streams every single morning starting at 8 a.m. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and jump right into this. The first one we're looking at here is Amazon. On Friday, Amazon started to fill the gap that it created from earnings. I've been talking about this potential setup for the last few weeks now. I did get in originally. I got stopped out on this little push to the upside, but I did re-enter these on Friday, and I am holding them over the weekend into Monday, and I am looking for that continuation, looking for Amazon to potentially fill the gap. You can see right here on the daily chart, we did close below this previous double bottom around this 132.40 level. You can see the low of this candle was 132.40. We previously bounced off this level, and on Friday we did flush below this level and closed below it pretty substantially around $130 per share. We are now fully in the gap between around the 125 to 132 level, and as of right now, my target to the downside first would be to this previous high around this 125.50. If we drop that level, I would be looking for the full gap fill, which would be down towards 123, right in this general area. So if we go to the 4-hour chart, I just want to show you what this looked like on Friday. You can see after dropping this previous double bottom, which was right here, you can see the one bottom here. This was a candle from the day after the earnings, and you can see right here, we bounced off this exact same level previously back on Wednesday of last week. On Friday, we slipped through all of these levels, no technicals held up, straight to the downside, and you can see this is where we closed. So on Monday, I am expecting there to be potentially more downside if we see some continuation on the market. If we do see any type of bounce, I would be looking for a bounce back into this 132.40. I would be looking for this to turn into a rejection point, and then I would look to re-short this thing back to potentially fill this gap. So this is definitely a downside one. I am watching into next week. If we get that continuation, I would be looking for that 125 level. If we get more, I'd be looking for that 123 for Amazon to fully fill the gap from the earnings back that it had. This was back on July 28th. So this is my top downside watch. We are in that gap. A stock will typically want to fill these gaps, and if we continue to see pressure like we did on Friday, I think there is definitely some continuation here on this one. So that is number one. The other two setups that we're going to look at two more potential gap fills off of earnings. The first one I want to show you is PANW. This is Palo Alto Networks. I don't trade this stock often. There's a lot of guys in the chat that do, but I want to show you something which could be interesting here. If we go to the daily chart, I just want to show you some analysis that I've been looking at. So here is the daily chart on PANW, and you can see that typically if we look at the past reactions on PANW, there is upside moves, but it almost always gives it back. So upside move gives it back, upside move gives some of it back. You have an upside move here, it's giving it back. So over here, you can see once again, we have that upside move off earnings, which has created a pretty large gap here on the daily chart. It also has started to reject this previous high right here, 570, around that 570 technical level. And on Monday, I am definitely looking for this one to come back down to potentially fill this gap. I don't see how PANW can hold this move higher if we start to move lower on the market, if there is aggressive selling on the market. This is definitely one that I would be watching. Fair warning, the option contracts on PANW are very aggressive. The spreads are very wide, so please be careful here if you do trade it. I just want to go ahead and show you some some levels. So if we zoom in here to the daily chart, the low of the candle after the gap up, the low of this candle right here was $552 per share. So I will be looking for a break below 552 here. If I see a break below 552, I will be looking to target this back down towards this previous high, around $530 a share, which is where these previous highs were, which could potentially turn into support. If we break 530, I would be looking for where we previously gapped up from, which is around $514 a share, right in this previous area. So if I go to the 4-hour chart, I just want to show you guys what this looks like on the 4-hour. Here's your 4-hour chart. Here is the gap that we had between 552 and around 530. So if we do break below this 552, I will be looking to see if we can move back down to this 530 level. PANW, earnings gap up. I don't see how this holds up if the market continues to the downside, and I will definitely be looking for the potential gap fill right here that you guys can see on the daily chart. So here with the volume profile up on the 4-hour chart, you can see this valley of price action here on the right side. That starts around this 552 level. You start to get a really low volume profile here. That is right in this gap area. So if we drop that 552, that 550 area, I'll be looking for this move back down to this 530. This is the straight up move that we saw off earnings. If the market stays weak, once again, that is definitely key to this play. If we see that weakness, PANW to fill that earnings gap up. The next one that I want to go ahead and show you guys here is SNO. SNO is another name that pushed higher off earnings that I don't believe will hold up in this market if we see that downside come in. So here on the daily chart, I want to zoom into SNO and I want to show you guys some levels that I am watching. I'm going to delete these to make this a little bit more clear, and let's just restart this analysis. So you guys can see on the daily chart on SNO, we have a gap. This gap was caused by earnings right here. The low of this candle right here was $184. I'll put a line right there. And the high of this candle was $162, and I will put a line right there. So you guys can see that we have just shy of about a 20-point gap right here on SNO, and that was caused by their earnings move. You can see the general rejection that is starting to come in around this $200 psychological level. We have some previous highs here around 200, and you can see that we are starting to reject that level. If I go to the 5-minute chart, you'll see that we did try to push above 200 multiple times. This is the 5-minute chart from Friday. If you look at that 200 psychological level, we tried to get above it, quickly failed it. We tried to push it once again and failed it once again. So one thing to note here on SNO, when looking at the 5-minute chart, you can see that it did hold up relatively well in that very weak market on Friday. So keep that in mind coming into next week. SNO could outperform slightly, but if it loses this 200 level, if it starts to lose that bullish momentum, if I look at this daily chart and I look at where SNO has sort of been trading, watch out for this to move back down to 184. Watch for it to try to come back to this previous gap fill level. If it breaks under that 184, you have a pretty aggressive gap here, about 20 points to the downside, that you could potentially try to capitalize off of if it starts to lose strength. Now, I will say I would not try to be shorting SNO here just yet because it has shown some relative outperformance. I would wait for it to definitely start to lose steam off this 200, and if the market really gets aggressive, look for it to break this 184, and there is a nice gap here in the daily chart to try to capitalize off of. So make sure to watch this one coming into the next week. Next one I want to go ahead and pull up here, guys, is Tesla, everyone's favorite stock. I want to break this down to the 4-hour and just show you guys a very important level that needs to hold here over the next few days, or Tesla could start to see a little bit more flush to the downside. So you can see over the last few weeks, Tesla has consolidated here, right around between this 313 level and around this 280 level. Tesla did not quite test that 280, 275 level on Friday, but it is looking like it is starting to head that way. So if I zoom in here and we can look at the 4-hour on Tesla, if we lose this 280, 275 level, this demand zone that we previously had, you can see right here, previous support here, previous rejections here. I think if you see Tesla drop the 275 level, I would look for these next lows. The next lows under 275 would start to come in right around this 256, 250. So under that 275, I would be looking for this zone right here, 260, 255. You can see we have previous rejections, previous rejections, previous rejections, and a previous support. If we lose this 275, I would expect you to get that downside pressure. I would maybe look for a rejection here, and I would look for us to come back and retest these previous rejection points. If I pull up the volume profile here on Tesla, you guys will see that the volume is pretty weak until that 250, 256, 260 level. Applying this on your charts, zooming out so we can see the whole picture. Let me go ahead and show this to you guys here. You can see that there is a valley of price action underneath this 275 level. If we start to drop this 275, you can see this valley of price action. I would be targeting back down to this 250, 256 level, these previous highs, see if that turns into support. But we definitely have some downside here if we lose this 275. Valley of price action, a key level hold, losing that. And if the market is weak on Monday, look for that move back towards that 256, 260 level. That would definitely be a target for me into next week. I want to show you guys two more. The first one that I'm going to show you guys here is Square. I'm going to take off the volume profile. This is actually a trade that I took on Friday of last week. Square broke down a very key hourly support level. So here on the 4-hour chart, you guys can see that we created some type of a resistance around that 75 level, previous resistance, previous support, and we rejected it almost the last 4 to 5 trading days. So we clearly had a rejection there. On Friday, I was targeting a downside play under the weekly support. You can see there's a weekly support here around $70. If I break this down to the hourly chart, you can see that we had a previous low here around this $70, $71 level, and we were looking to get into puts here on Friday on Square. Congrats, guys, if you caught this, and we slipped very nicely under that weekly support. So going back to the 4-hour chart, now that we have slipped below that weekly support, there is definitely more continuation here, in my opinion. I would be targeting down to this 66 level. This is where that next support comes in. This was a double bottom back in July. You can see one bottom here, another bottom right here. I don't see why Square would find support between this 70 and 66 level. I believe you need to see this come back down and retest this 66 before trying to find any support. So Square breaking a big hourly support, big weak support right there under $70. You can see that flush. Next double bottom comes in around 66. That would definitely be something I am watching. Last one I want to show you guys in today's video. There are a ton more plays to watch out for, but these are some that I want to highlight. And of course, come to the pre-market live stream or come join the Discord chat where we will definitely go over a few more plays here. Here is the 4-hour chart on Google. Google, you can see, has been trading in this pretty defined channel for almost the last 3 to 4 months. It rejected the highs once again, and you can see it has moved down to the bottom side of this channel. If the market's weak, if we get another leg down on the market, there should be no reason why Google does not try to retest the bottom side of this channel. This could be a very nice play. Look for Google to continue down to this 106 level, the bottom side of the channel. Google will absolutely follow the overall market. So if you get another downside on Monday on the NASDAQ, on the S&P, Google will be a very nice play back down to the bottom side of this channel at 106. That is another one that I am definitely watching. So guys, I just wanted to jump on today, share with you some of the downside setups that I am watching. I'm definitely watching some stocks that have moved up off of earnings, some gap ups off of earnings. Do we fill those gaps? Amazon, PANW, and Snow all had gap ups after earnings, and I'm looking to see if those fill if we see a weak market. I don't expect these stocks to hold up those earning moves if the overall market comes back down to the downside aggressively. I don't expect us to see those hold up. Tesla has a very important level to watch. Square broke down a big hourly support level. And finally, Google should probably come down to test the bottom side of that channel if we get more weakness on the market. Of course, Monday is an unknown right now, so let's go ahead and see what happens. Let's see what the futures look like. Come hang out in the pre-market live stream to get an update on some setups and some analysis. I hope you guys did enjoy today's video. Make sure to prepare yourself for this coming week. There should be some volatility and definitely some nice trading opportunities. Press that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.